the DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Midday Market Report number 2. Well, technically, Friday, February 24th, 2023. The internet with 2 knockout punches this week. Yesterday was Steven Nover, was going to make his debut live from LA. I'm actually live from Vegas. And we just could not get it off the ground. And then this afternoon, poker and sports gambling professional Tyler Wyatt. We just got going, start, stop. And the internet with the TKO there. But it's that time of year. Weather, sleet, snow, rain, high winds, whatever it is. But hopefully, just hopefully, we can get through with our weekly show here with the one and only Mr. Zayd Hussein. So we're going to talk some Jake Paul. I guess he's got a fight coming up. UFC next week. I know Zayd's hot for this one. Mr. John Jones opened up minus 170. I'm seeing currently minus 145 right now at the Circa versus Mr. Gagne. A couple other fights that caught our eye. We'll talk some NBA trade deadline, maybe a future or two. Maybe Zayd's got up his sleeve, maybe a little college basketball, a little mixed potpourri to start the weekend. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Zayd Hussein.
What's going on, Jeff? How you doing?
Well, we got a great connection. I'm doing a lot better now. How are you?
Good. You know, I'm over here in Brazil, actually, speaking of connection, so I had to make sure the Wi-Fi and everything's set up well. Just taking a little vacation and, you know, enjoying the games and watching some sports.
In Brazil, and you didn't invite me?
Man, it was a last-minute trip, you know, taking the family and having a good time. But I will definitely do something in the future. And I'll be flying out to Vegas next week for UFC 285, the return of John Jones. I look forward to talking about that. We have a big fight this weekend coming up with Jake Paul and Tommy Fury. A lot of interesting things to cover, a lot of interesting things to talk about. Yesterday, Illinois with a great comeback. I mean, they were trailing 18.5 against Northwestern, which it was considered a quad 2 win, I want to say. Northwestern, I think, is one of the most underrated teams in college basketball. Great win for Illinois. Overall, it's a great weekend for sports, and I can't wait to dive into it.
Well, let's talk Jake Paul. Listen, I have to be an open book. I've always been an open book. Hats off to the marketing department. You know, I'm not saying he's not talented. Trust me, I would never say that. Actually, it's brilliance. It's pure brilliance, able to pick these fights, not only to pick the right fights, but to market them. And the guy's just a multi-millionaire, if not billionaire. Talk about Jake, talk about what he does, and talk about the fight.
Well, you know, Jake, you hit it right on the head as just a marketing genius. When you look at what he's done in his career and what he's done with boxing, you know, he started off as a YouTuber, an influencer, and being able to just draw interest in boxing and you know, him, Logan Paul, and KSI and all those guys, they really started the YouTube boxing thing. And it's turned into now celebrity boxing, and they started a huge trend. And there's so much money to be made here because of the interest that they're gaining from the public. Look at Jake Paul. Everybody's tuned into this fight, and everybody wants to watch it and can't wait to see what's going to happen. And, you know, I think just from the background of being a YouTuber and knowing how to market himself as an influencer, it just goes right into boxing. And it's like now he's taken off and he's became a draw. And, you know, people say, oh, he's a YouTube boxer, he's a YouTuber, he shouldn't be in the ring. Well, now everyone sees that he's legit. He's beaten Anderson Silva. He's beaten Tyron Woodley, knocked Tyron Woodley out, who's a dangerous, you know, call whatever you want. He's the UFC. It's different from boxing, but he was a dangerous striker. And, you know, he has a lot of knockout power. So going from YouTube to then transitioning to boxing and to see him improve, you could see this guy's putting in the work, and he's very, very talented at what he does. And I think it's more of the commitment aspect that he has. He's working as hard as he possibly can. I think he's outworking all of his opponents so far.
The fight this week, what do you have for numbers right now on the fight?
I want to say Jake Paul's around minus 165, minus 170, but it's been all over the place. Um, so last fight, Jake, he fought against Anderson Silva. I liked him by decision. It was plus 215. We cashed it. We had a props article on that, and I like that a lot. I think in this fight is a fight I don't see either fighter putting each other away, to be honest with you. You know, they'll talk, hey, I'm gonna knock you out, I'm gonna knock you out, but I just don't see it. I think both fighters are talented fighters. Tommy Fury is a guy obviously coming from the Fury family, you know, Tyson Fury's brother. But here's some stats that I had to pull up. You know, Tommy Fury's 8-0. Okay. The combined record of his opponents is 24 and 176. 24 wins, 176 losses. Okay. So he stopped 4 of his opponents. 3 of the 4 that he stopped in the fight have never won a fight. Okay. So 4 of his 8 opponents have never won a fight up until he's faced them. So it's like the guys that he's fighting, the competition is low. So when people say, oh, Jake Paul's fighting, you know, Nate Robinson, and he's fighting Ben Askren, and he's fighting Anderson Silva and Tyron Woodley, these guys are just as good as fighters as Tommy Fury, if not better. I consider Anderson Silva better than almost every single opponent that Tommy Fury has fought. And I think this is a fight where it's rightfully favored as Jake Paul. He should be a favorite, and he should be around minus 175, minus 180. And, you know, it's all the way around, you know, offshore. Sometimes you see minus 150s, minus 160s, depending on where you get a line. But I like Jake Paul in this fight, and I like him by decision. I think he's going to be able to outbox him, and, you know, it's going to be an entertaining fight for sure.
For myself that reads the market, before I go back to the last fight, and correct me obviously if I'm wrong here, is this the shortest number he's been as a favorite?
Yeah, I want to say so. I believe so. I would have to double check that, but yeah.
All right, I'm going to go back to the last fight. I did watch the fight. I thought the middle rounds, I'm not saying he was running. He's very surgical. He knows what he's trying to do. He's big. He's strong. He can lean on you. He was fighting someone that he respected. And I'm not questioning the outcome. I'm not questioning the decision at all. But in the middle rounds, at any point did you think that he was in trouble? Or should I say he wasn't dictating the fight? How's that sound?
Well, you know, with a fighter like Anderson Silva, Anderson Silva is the type of guy, and we've seen this in the octagon as well with him, where he's not putting enough output to win rounds. And, you know, we've seen it in fight where he's just kind of moving around. You know, he's very defensive, but he's not throwing a lot of strikes. And that's why I think in some of those middle rounds, Jake Paul was able to take over just by, you know, sticking and moving. Both fighters were, you know, fighting to play it safe and to not swing. Jake Paul did not want to slugfest in that fight, you know, and I think he was just a more technical fighter. And just aging, obviously. I think he's 40-something years old. Don't quote me on it, but, you know, he's an older fighter. Overall, I think Jake Paul, he showed his IQ, his fight IQ, and you can see it's really high. You know, looking at, he smoked Ben Askren right away. You know, he fought Tyron Woodley, questionable decision. Then he comes back, he knocks Tyron Woodley out, and then he fights a guy like Anderson Silva, who's a very good boxer. You know, he's beaten a lot of great fighters, and now you see it as it's. I think Jake Paul is going to be able to do the same thing he did.
Short number. I'm calling it a short number. And I obviously on Saturday, I would expect that to balloon public wise to keep going up, up, and up. Maybe some sharps dive in on the dog there. What can a novice that hasn't tuned in, what can he expect? And if he was going to back the dog here, what would he have to watch and see for the dog to have a chance on Saturday?
You know, it's very interesting. I think the line is gonna stay around the same number. I see. I mean, you may see sharp action coming in, but with fights like these, you know, you don't really see a like heavy action. You're gonna see heavy action, if anything, on Jake Paul as opposed to Tommy Fury. So, I mean, if you are gonna bet the dog, I'd wait. I think Jake Paul does get up to a higher favorite. If anything, I don't see it swinging to the other side. You know, something unique in the press conference was, you know, Jake Paul is always known for making his big bets and what he does, and they made an agreement. I'm not sure if it's 100% going to be honored, but it's like a winner-take-all fight. So if Jake Paul wins, he's taking all the revenue. If Tommy Fury wins, he's taking all the revenue. So it's interesting to see how that's going to turn out post-fight and to see everything like that. But if I'm a bettor that's, you know, wanting to back Tommy Fury, I'm backing him last minute because I think you will see big, you know, numbers coming in on Jake Paul later on, right before the fight.
So you have this by decision?
Yeah, I think Jake Paul is able to win by decision. I'm not sure what the exact number is right now. Offshore, I think around plus in the 200s, but it's everything is like with this fight, it's just like plus 200, plus 240, like everything's all over the place. So you got to line shop to get an exact number and make sure you line shop with this fight. That's what I have to emphasize. Line shop and get the best odds possible so you have the best bang for your buck.
UFC next weekend. Obviously, the headliner, Mr. John Jones' return. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a few weeks since you and I have chatted. I'm showing an opening line of minus 170. That's not true, right? Wasn't this like a minus 120, 30 or something to start?
So Cyril Gahn actually opened up offshore, posted by a couple offshore sites, minus 170. They had
Okay.
John Jones at plus 160. This line lasted for about 20 minutes, okay? And then it just swung the other direction. On FanDuel, like, in the United States, FanDuel DraftKings, they opened up John Jones, I want to say at around plus 100, minus 110. I was able to get down some money at minus 110. Now I think he ballooned up to minus 160 last time I checked on FanDuel. I think minus 160 is the number that I priced it at. It's funny. I sent out a couple of text messages about a month ago saying, hey, if you're going to bet John Jones, make sure to do it now. Because, 3.5-year layoff, the general public doesn't really remember how good John Jones was as a fighter. And now you put him against Cyril Gahn, who the recency bias, even though he lost to Ngannou, he looked great in that fight. And he's beaten Tuivasa and he's beaten a lot of top contenders that people want to back him and think, John Jones in activity, moving up to heavyweight, he might have a lot of challenges. But I look at the grappling edge for John in this fight, and I think it's very significant. He's going to be able to use his distance, keep distance, and then when he has a chance to, he will shoot and he will get him to the ground. And I think John Jones does finish him in this fight. And you can look at by submission, you can look at ground and pound. I think there's a lot of different ways John Jones can finish this fight, but I think the most likely outcome is he takes him down and submits him on the ground.
Well, I can tell you this: Bet Online is listening to our show. They've just moved the Jake Paul number. So and that's a fact. It's in red right now. They just
I figured it's not going the other way. He's gonna be a heavier favorite if I had to guess. What is it right now on Bet Online?
Bet Online has it at 159 right now.
Yeah, I think by opening bell he's gonna be at minus 175. If I had to guess.
On the card next Saturday, too, Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko. I had a minus 650, now down to minus 620 at Circa. Any chance Grasso can pull off the miracle here?
Yeah, I don't see it. Valentina Shevchenko is such a technician, and she's so talented at what she does. She has the striking, she has the grappling. I mean, minus 650, you could see. It's sad to say, but it's rightfully so. I mean, I would even argue putting her at a higher favorite. Shevchenko is just so good everywhere. It's a very tough fight for Grasso. I think she's gonna have a long night in there. I mean, she could get finished possibly, but I think it's gonna be a tougher challenge this weekend. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say the under over 4.5 juice under minus 50 cents. So you don't see that going the distance, correct?
I think Shevchenko should be able to get her out of there. But, we've seen in the past with Shevchenko stalling out fights on the feet and, just playing it safe. But I think if she's aggressive here, she will be able to get her out of there.
The other fight that, again, you are the expert, not me. But I do see a name that sticks out that I do know, and that's Cody Garbrandt. Opened at minus 175, now 160 at Circa. You can grab a plus 140 on Trevin Jones. Can you give me anything on Trevin Jones?
Yes, I can. So Trevin Jones is this is a fight I had circled on my calendar just because I was really curious to see what the line would open up as. Cody Garbrandt, former champion of the world, suffered a couple losses to TJ Dillashaw, and his chin suspect after the fights. But Cody Garbrandt was looked at after his Dominic Cruz fight as one of the best fighters in the world. And I think Cody Garbrandt kind of let the fame get to him and, he's a champion and, you're doing more media stuff and you lost the grind. But, Cody Garbrandt now is training with Dewey Cooper, coach out in Vegas. He's training with Javid Basharat, Farid Basharat, the Basharat brothers. Javid Basharat just recently beat Trevin Jones in his UFC debut, I want to say about a year and a half ago. Trevin Jones is an opponent that Cody Garbrandt is going to know because of the fighters that he's training with in his camp. And Dewey Cooper is a new coach that he's training with that's, one of the best boxing coaches and Muay Thai coaches in the world. I think Cody's going to going to win here, and I think he does it by stoppage, to be honest with you. Trevin Jones, he's coming off a couple losses. He hasn't looked great. I think Cody's going to show a great return, and I think at minus 160, he's worth a look. I like him as a bet for next weekend.
There's a card this weekend. I'm looking at a bazillion fights here.
So one that sticks out to me is the return of Tatiana Suarez. Tatiana Suarez is on a 3.5-year layoff. Suarez, in my opinion, fully healthy, like I could say this right now, should be champion in her division. She's that good. Tatiana Suarez is, I think, one of the best wrestlers in the UFC. On the women's side, she's been able to overwhelm almost every single opponent she's fought, but she's faced a lot of different injuries. Suarez right now is coming in at, let me pull up the exact number.
I got it minus 740 plus 550 on De La Rosa.
Yes, so you can take here. I'm going to give you the exact odds on FanDuel right now. By KO or submission at plus 120. I like her to get it done inside the distance at plus 120. I think obviously you're not going to lay the minus 800 I see right now on FanDuel, but I like Tatiana Suarez to get a finish here. I think she comes back with a statement. She's going to be able to take her down. She's going to ground and pound. She either finds a rear naked choke or just continues to just beat on her until the ref stops. I like Tatiana Suarez, and I think she's one of the best fighters in the world.
And Circa right now has over 2.5 minus 40. So they actually have that going the distance. So you can actually get plus money if you wanted to go under the 2.5.
Yeah. You could take the under 2.5, or you could take Tatiana finish. Submissions would look if you want to take just submission. You can get her at plus 280. But I think she could also win this via ground and pound, maybe get a crucifix and just beat on her. Honestly, Tatiana Suarez is a person to look out for this weekend. She's going to make a statement.
Is there any? I mean, this is a huge card. I gotta assume not all these guys and women are fighting here. I got like a bazillion on the spreadsheet.
Yeah. This is a big card. It's filled with a lot of Dana White Contender Series fighters. But this is a card. There's a couple decent spots. You have Ryan Spann taking on Krylov. Spann plus 144 is coming off a KO victory over Dominic Reyes. Spann's worth a look, but you never really know with some of these guys. Brendan Allen has been a trendy dog. I think I want to say 93% of the bets have been coming in on Brendan Allen against Andre Muniz. Allen, if he's able to defend takedowns, if he's able to keep it on the feet, I think is live, and that's why I see a lot of people betting on him. There's a couple good fights, but overall, if I were to target, I would look more towards next week with John Jones and with Cody Garbrandt. I think there's better spots to bet coming forward next week in UFC 285.
All-Star break, All-Star weekend, whatever the hell you want to call it, is over. And I was doing a show yesterday, and I just went through the roof. I vented as I was talking. Grant and Lillard load management, and I'm like, you just had the weekend off. I mean, I know if you went to the All-Star game, God bless you. Geez, I mean, you must have had a real rough weekend playing defense in that game. And but here they are again with 22 games to go. The trade deadline's gone, but now there's another thing called, you can go in after the buyout clauses and go in, Westbrook going to the Clippers and some other big moves like that. Take us to the NBA through the All-Star weekend. Take us up to where we are today, trade deadline, buyout clauses, and where you are in the NBA.
For sure, yeah. So obviously, you mentioned Russell Westbrook as probably, I would say, one of the biggest moves of free agency, or I'm sorry, the buyout with the trade deadline. Coming to the Clippers, I see he's going to start in his first game, and they're going to have him as a starter. He's not going to play a bench role, which I think is not a bad move. You see how he does with Kawhi and with Paul George. Obviously, he has a chemistry with Paul George. A couple of reports came out saying they weren't so sure if they wanted to get Westbrook, but Paul George is one of the players who really pushed for Westbrook, and it's a gamble, but it's a gamble that could work out for the Clippers. I think he could really put them over the top. When you put a lineup with Westbrook, you put a lineup with Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, you have Zubac, and then you have guys like Eric Gordon, you have guys like Morris. Their team is very, very deep. They have a lot of depth, and I think they can make some noise in the playoffs. Then you look at the Lakers. I think they made great moves. Obviously, not being able to land Kyrie was a big blow, but you went and you got D'Angelo Russell. You got Malik Beasley, who looked great yesterday. He's shooting the ball well, and you got a healthy Anthony Davis for now. You have a healthy LeBron James for now. And you look at what they did. A couple of videos came out yesterday, which was pretty funny. The Lakers were up by 24, and Anthony Davis, you could read his lips saying, wow, we haven't been up by 24 in like forever. When's the last time the Lakers have blown a team out and they get to rest in the fourth quarter? I don't remember it. And I think there's a lot of exciting moves. Kyrie Irving with the Dallas Mavericks, it's going to be exciting. The West is just, man, it's tough. You got the Warriors, you got the Grizzlies, you got the Clippers. There's so many good teams in the West. Kevin Durant to the Suns. I mean, me personally, if you have a healthy KD, you have a healthy Devin Booker, you have a healthy Chris Paul, you have a healthy DeAndre Ayton, and now there's talks of Derrick Rose possibly being added to the team in a buyout, getting bought out and coming to the Suns. I think the Suns are the favorite, and I would put them as a favorite over the Celtics. I think there's just too much firepower there. You have Chris Paul, who's an experienced veteran. Obviously, he hasn't won a championship, and he gets a lot of hate for that. But you have Chris Paul, you have Devin Booker, you have Kevin Durant. These are all, playmakers, and then you have DeAndre Ayton, and then you have a deep bench. If you bring in D Rose and you bring in a couple other players, Torrey Craig, I think this is a team that's a favorite. I don't know what's your thoughts on the Suns. I would put them as a favorite over the Celtics.
Here's the problem I have with the Suns. I think a couple of years ago they peaked. I'm a huge Aiden fan. I like Devin Booker. The problem is in the playoffs, and you can look back at the history, Chris Paul always gets hurt. They go as far as healthy as Chris Paul. If I knew Chris Paul was going to stay healthy through the whole playoffs, I'd book it right now. I would take the Suns to win the West, and I would take my chance with them against Boston, against Milwaukee, against the Sixers, whoever. As you said, you add KD, who is a true assassin, and he can be a 1A with anyone. I talked during our shows leading up to the trade deadline. The Celtics picked up the phone and they checked in with Brooklyn. And I'm telling you right now, on Wednesday during my shows, I says my spidey senses are up. I think the Celtics are going to make the move. They're going to move Jaylen Brown. They're going to take the 2 to 3 year window with KD and Tatum, which would have been the best duo in the NBA, and take their shot. Well, Wednesday night, Jaylen Brown gets the elbow from Tatum. He gets the out till the break. Then he is moved to the Suns later that night, early in the morning. So through this conversation we've had in the NBA the last 5 minutes, the one team we haven't brought up is Denver. Why are you staying away from Denver?
I just, man, Denver, as good as they've looked every single year. I mean, you look, it's like a repeating thing, a repeating process. Denver last year, they look great, but Jokic is one of the best basketball players in the world, but he's not a player that's going to just, obviously he can score, but he's not going to go just take over a game like a guy like Jason Tatum can, or Kevin Durant, or you've seen with Steph Curry. I mean, the Warriors, they ran through them last year. And I think that this is a team that they're going to struggle against the Clippers, or they're going to struggle against the Suns. I think the Suns will just run through them. There's not enough firepower on that offense. I just think you have to count them out, honestly. As good as they've looked, I don't consider them a true contender to win the title.
So right now you're in on the Suns.
Yes, 100%. I'm a big believer with the Suns. I think Kevin Durant is obviously the best scorer in the world, and now you're pairing him with a duo of Chris Paul and Devin Booker, and then you have a big man in DeAndre Ayton, who's one of the best big men in the league. I think this is a team healthy. I think that they'll be able to go to the finals and they'll beat anybody. Fully healthy, they will beat anybody. And I think it's not worth, like you mentioned, because Chris Paul gets hurt every single year in the playoffs. I think you're better off betting this as just like, instead of taking a plus 500, betting it by series. If they play a Golden State Warriors, if they play a Los Angeles Clippers, if they play a Grizzlies, it's not going to be that big of a spread, I think, in the series prices, to where you could just roll your money over series by series. And not a lot of people do that. And I think that's a big mistake, and it costs a lot of people money.
Lakers make the playoffs?
Yes, they do. I think that they make that run. I think Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, D'Angelo Russell, these are all perfect fit for the Lakers. The Lakers are, deeper now. As long as Anthony Davis is healthy and LeBron James stays healthy, they will make the play-in and get into the playoffs as maybe a 7th or 8th seed.
college hoops, we're playing out the schedule. We got a couple weeks till conference championship week, selection Sunday, March Madness. You talked about Northwestern down. I mean, actually up 18 against Illinois. Illinois comes storming back. I had Tyler on earlier today before we got shut down by the internet. The Kentucky Wildcats rounding into form. The drama going on in Alabama, allowing the freshmen to play during the trial. I think pound for pound, Houston is the best team in the country. I know they have issues offensively, but they can play in the 70s with you, or they can play in the 40s with you. They can play any style. I like UCLA out west. And listen, I'm a season ticket holder, diehard UConn fan. They go as far as Jordan Hawkins goes in my eyes. I think they'll win the Big East tournament. But again, there's a New Mexico State or someone like that lurking who caught them in the first round. What are you thinking right now in college hoops?
So college hoops, you actually hit it on the head. Houston, I mean, how many number one seeds have lost this year? I feel like it's been the most in a very long time. It seems like every time a team gets ranked one, they lose. And it's just funny. I think you look at teams like Purdue, they've been ranked one throughout the season. I don't think they're the best team, and I truly do think Houston is the best team in college basketball. And when you look towards March Madness and betting on the tournament, I like to target teams that have been together with each other and have played with each other for a long time. And in college basketball, you don't really see that a lot because there's a lot of one and dones and guys the sophomore year declaring for the draft. There's my favorite mid-major team that can make noise in the tournament is Oral Roberts. Obviously, a lot of people have been talking about Oral Roberts. 2 years ago, I want to say 2 years ago or 3 years ago with Ohio State, I had them going. I put out a couple articles for FTN. I had Oral Roberts going far. Max Abesmith, this team, he's an elite scorer. He's one of the best scorers in the country. He led the country in scoring, and this is a team that has a lot of firepower. And these mid-major teams can catch you off guard. In the first round, second round of tournaments, you say, "Oh, I'm playing an Oral Roberts team." Well, no, you're playing a very, very dangerous team. And I like teams like Oral Roberts. I like teams like you mentioned earlier, UCLA, that have played together. You got a core group of guys, and those are teams that I look to target for in March. And even Houston looks great. The Illini, they came storming back. I don't think they're quite there yet, but they have a good squad. Some Coleman Hawkins has looked good. Terrence Shannon Jr. is a guy that's one of the most explosive players in college basketball, and we've seen in the second half. I think he scored 22 or 24 points in the second half of that game. But this is going to be a really exciting college basketball season. I can't wait to see how it wraps up.
You talked about Jake Paul tomorrow. You talked a few UFCs tomorrow. Any college basketball or NBA props or games today, tomorrow, Sunday that caught your eye that you can leave to everyone watching right now to try to cash in some tickets while you enjoy Brazil, my friend?
So there's one thing that I think is worth a long shot. I want to give you the exact odds now on FanDuel, and that's Indiana. I'm going to see if I can pull it up for you right now. I'm not sure if you have it on deck, but Indiana is a team, Trace Jackson Davis, Race Thompson. They're going to get Xavier Johnson back. This is a team that has played with each other. I think this is a team that can actually go all the way and can shock a lot of people. And Indiana was sitting at an outrageous number. I'm going to see if it moved right now. Give me 1 second. Should have had this on deck for you. So Indiana. Can you pull it up? Do you have it on your end? I'm not seeing it here.
Let me see if I can pull 1 second. Actually, give me 1 second. I'll pull it up here. Indiana. Let's go to Indiana for you.
I have them right here at plus 3,500.
Go to Circus Sports. Go to Circus Sports. Say hi to Jeffrey Benson, Matt Metcalf, Derek Stevens. Hello, gentlemen. Plus 4,000.
Yes, I like that. And make sure to always shop, as you see, plus 3,500 on FanDuel, plus 4,000 at Circa. I like it I like Indiana as a lock shot here. I think they have a lot of firepower offensively, and then they're getting back a great point guard in Xavier Johnson. Trace Jackson Davis, obviously one of the best players in college basketball. This is a team that can go all the way. And, with the right coaching, which they have, I think that they could beat anybody come March.
The scroll has been going the whole time. Tell everyone on Twitter or where else they can find your work.
You can find me at Zayd Hussein on Twitter. I produce MMA articles for props.com. You will see me producing one next week for UFC 285. I will be live at UFC 285 in Las Vegas. You will see a lot of content coming from me within the next few weeks. Obviously, I'll be here next Friday as well with you at 2:30 p.m. Always tune in. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Jeff.
The one and only Zayd Hussein. Go over to Twitter and follow him at Zayd_Hussein. Amazing work, amazing content. We are blessed and honored to have him every Friday, 3:30 my time, 2:30 his. And we're going to be seeing a lot more of him. Trust me, we got some stuff working in the background. So, hey, listen, enjoy Brazil. Have some fun. Don't be afraid to shoot out a few pictures with you by the pool, hanging out, having a good time, will you?
Got you. Take care, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you. The one and only Zayd Hussein wraps up the week here at ECSI. We could not be prouder and happier. We've had an amazing week here in the studio locally on Cape Cod in Centerville, Mass. at 1480 Old Falmouth Road. If you're on the Cape, want to swing by, say hi, please do. At 4:30 in 26 minutes, the one and only Brady Tinker with his weekly Off with the Helmets talking Dallas Cowboys as they get closer to draft. Maybe talk some D-Hop, I assume, what they're doing in the backfield. Are they going to franchise tag Mr. Pollard? What's going on with Zeke and much more? So thank you guys so much and see you soon.